in Accra, Ghana, when I think his uncle was wearing a Raiders, just Steph, yeah, a Steph Curry basketball jersey. And I said, these have got to be Americans. Okay, so that's how we met. And it's always good when you travel and you run into Americans, but even more important when you run into African Americans or Black Americans. Because when you're someplace like Ghana, the fact that a Black American is there, it says something about them. I don't know how much, but it says something about them and their relationship with the diaspora. Or they would be in Paris or London or on some beach in Florida or Jamaica in the Caribbean.
I agree, and that's because when we heard you and you was like, Curry, take that jacket. Like, we turned around like we know that's a black man, right?
Absolutely, but more importantly, a black man from America. So I'm in the Bay Area for the first time in 42 years.
Wow.
And I said, before I go to the big sleep, I want to get back to the Bay Area. And I've got some emotional reasons for being here. But, I just believe today that there's so much power in thought process. And the power of positive thinking is what keeps a lot of us, the lack of the grasp of that concept keeps a lot of us controlled by fear. There are decisions that we make in life. We don't make them because we can't or it won't. We make them because of what happens if. What if?
Right.
The what if keeps us from attempting to maybe go in some ways that we need to go or want to go. And earlier today we were talking about people making changes in their lives. And the biggest reason that I feel that people aren't able to make these changes is because of fear. And it's a different kind of fear. It's the fear of not knowing what's next. It's the fear of, I got to know what's going to happen. And actually, that's like the flip side of control.
Yes.
That's the flip side of failure to surrender to this journey in this universe. Once I surrender, then I'm going to go where the universe sends me and takes me. And all along that journey, the universe is going to have people like you standing on a corner to facilitate some of my upcoming moves and parts of my journey. And a lot of reasons that in the past, when I was younger, I couldn't, is because I wanted to know the outcome first before I would embark down the road that could lead to some lasting benefit or change.
Right.
It's like one of those award ceremonies. And the envelope, please. Said, I gotta get the envelope and peek in the envelope first to see if I'm a winner before I invest in going down that road. And that doesn't lead to true change. And we talked about it earlier today. Unless I'm willing to invest in myself. And it doesn't necessarily mean money.
Right.
It means time, emotion, and action. Because a lot of things in this life in terms of changing and a change model, it all boils down to willingness. How willing am I, first of all, to try something different? And then lastly, how willing am I to be uncomfortable until that thing comes to fruition? And that's why we tend to quit 5 minutes before the miracle all throughout the change process. There's a poem that used to be my favorite poem. I used to recite it word for word. It's called Don't Quit.
Okay.
And it has one part, one stanza that says, we might never know what would have happened if we would have struck another blow. So when your heart is hit, rest you must, but don't you quit. And when you find and you look at people and doing this work, one of the common threads is real accomplished quitters. Ready to throw up both my hands. Ain't gonna happen, can't do it.
Right.
And so all of these things, you were talking about obstacles a little bit before the camera went live. And all obstacles do, Joey, is they develop character, and it gives us a surprising sense of what we can accomplish.
Right.
A stumbling block is an opportunity. I'm even learn to climb that stumbling block, or I'm going to learn to walk around that stumbling block. A stumbling block should not impede my progress toward a goal.
Right.
It should make me learn something about myself and develop some new skills and strategies.
Problem solving.
Absolutely. Critical thinking.
As you said earlier, critical thinking.
Critical thinking.
Because not to cut you, when we run into a problem, we can't just stop and surrender right there. And then when you get past it, get through it, get over it, around it, you be like, damn, I did that.
But more importantly, you learn something. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I could do that. Right. Not only did I do it, but I didn't know I could do it. And then what I learned. You know, we were talking earlier today about clients who experience just failure. Mm-hmm. And it's not a waste if case managers and workers can sit down with them and unpack it, and let's figure out how you keep getting this same result. And I can simply tell you it's because they keep doing the same thing without modifying it based on what just happened.
Right.
You know, at some point, if I'm jaywalking a lot and I keep getting hit by cars, see, my problem is not the cars hitting me. My problem is I keep jaywalking. And if I jaywalk enough, I'm gonna like jaywalking. I'm gonna like the thrill of jumping in between the cars and not getting hit. But when I start to get hit, I need to say, wait a minute, if I don't jaywalk, I won't get hit. It's like what we say in recovery, if I don't drink, I won't get drunk.
Right.
If I don't get drunk, I got a chance to keep my job, keep my family, keep my significant other, stay out of jail, and more importantly, I might have a chance to hold on to some housing, even if somebody gives it to me. So that's what I'm talking about with my own efforts. At what point does my outcome be determined by or affected by my effort or lack of effort? We're just simply talking about any change model, change in anything. Give you an example. There's a term called character defect, and there's another term called shortcoming. Okay. Now, shortcoming is, I know I need tires. I've been needing tires for months. Then I have a flat. I put the donut on. 2 months later, I'm still driving on the donut. That's a character defect. Because now I've adjusted and made it part of my way I'm doing things.
Normal. A new normal.
Yes, a new normal. And the most sensible thing would be get a set of tires. Or at least replace the one tire. And that's what we do psychologically and emotionally. We ride around on the donut without getting to the crust of the problem. We were talking earlier today with one of my mentors about homelessness and how we think we can fix it by giving everybody a house.
Right.
I like that. There's some people in this country who believe, and some of my colleagues and some of my closest friends that I hold dear, they believe housing is a right. It's a right. Like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it's a right. So when we examine that, I say to myself, if it's a right, when did they get the house? Did they get it at birth? Did they get it at 16? Did they get it at 21? Did they get a house when they graduate from college?
Right.
Did they get a house when they have kids and they're married? So if housing is a right, when do we give them the house?
Where's the house?
So I believe that access to housing is a right.
I agree.
Something totally different. Everybody should have unencumbered access to housing. But I can't make it a right because housing involves someone's personal participation and effort. And what we're doing is we're creating a whole group of people with the expectations now that housing is going to be given to them for whatever reason they believe they should get it. And so right now, we're in the process of trying to get Congress to give us more money for vouchers. I think the last go around we had, I want to say something like $5 or $6 billion of money towards vouchers. And some of my colleagues and people that you've met so far today They believe that number needs to be increased by another couple $1 billion.
Wow.
To have more vouchers. So what we've done is we've taken the incentive for personal involvement and better decision making out of the equation. And so now people are just waiting to get their housing, almost as if the way people wait for their income tax return.
Right. And you know, the question with that's a great point, let me say that. What are they going to do with the house? And I think that's some of the questions that's missing in those conversations.
Let me tell you what happens most of the time.
Here we go.
When I go do a home visit, and people have gotten housing on my case list, at some point I do home visits. In the beginning, it's quite frequently, once a week. As time goes by, less frequently. But I still check in.
Yeah.
And I don't let them know I'm coming, but maybe 10 to 15 minutes, look, I'm around the corner from your house, man, I'm gonna stop by. That's all they get. And when you come in, a lot of times, they don't even answer the door. Somebody else answers the door. And somebody says, oh, you looking for Joey? Oh, he's around the corner by the car wash. And all kind of illicit activities going on in the apartment because I can see it, right? So now Joey has lost control of his apartment. So it won't be too much longer before he's put out of there, either by the neighbors complaining or some laws being broken or the police intervening in a legal way to put pressure on him to moderate whatever's going on. And then finally, he usually gets evicted or he walks away, from the apartment because he loses control of his own place. I see that happening too frequently to dismiss it, especially with people that are mentally challenged or emotionally challenged, because they lack the ability, in my opinion, and everything I say is my opinion. It's not precise to any mathematical degree, and there's no research to support my opinion. It's just my opinion.
Okay.
A lot of them do not have a well-developed sense of friend or foe. They're just sweet people who we should not be putting in some communities by themselves. So they can't tell who's a real friend and who's a foe. Let me give you an example. I've had clients to get a monthly check and they had emotional challenges, and people would come up and make friends with them, especially young ladies, and they would know when they're going to get their check because everybody knows when those checks come. And by the second of the month, they broke.
Yeah.
By the third of the month, they're selling their food stamps.
Yeah.
Okay? And they refuse to get pays. So what you have is just have a mess where people aren't able to use the funds for its true intention. And so it's putting these individuals in these living situations is actually an asset or a liability. I think it's a liability. But when you say, let's go back to some of the things that were done in the past, then that's draconian or that's abusive. So, we got a tough decision. I don't confess to have the answer, but I know for sure what we're doing is not the answer. Somewhere in the mix between what they're doing now and what they used to do is the true answer. And so people are vulnerable out there. Very vulnerable. Our women, the things that happen to our women out on the street, both addicted and both homeless and not homeless, it's really concerning.
Very.
And the majority of them that I'm talking about, this group here, this subgroup, they don't want to go to the shelter. Or they'll refuse to go to the shelter. And it could be snowing outside, and I'll give them the choice. Let me take you to the shelter. They'll say, you know what, I'm good. And I say to them, God bless you. Because it's cold out here and it's snowing, and if you're good, I'm good.
Because, I look at it the same way. You're right. It may not be the outcome that I desire for you. However, if that's the outcome you desire for yourself at the moment, I'm going to let you have that. It's
humbling to see people in a situation that you know that there's a good chance it's not going to be a good ending. When I worked at this one facility that was headquartered in a mental health hospital in D.C., this sprawling hospital, at one time it was considered to be the largest mental health facility on the East Coast. I had 13 clients die within a year. 13 of my clients. I'm talking about the facility. 13 of my clients die within a year. And it's disheartening. But when you know that you don't have the power to save them, that my job is just to give it to them, and if they choose to pick up these simple tools, then great for them. But I cannot make them pick up the tools. In other words, it's not my job to take them to water and make them drink.
Right.
It's my job to make them thirsty, so when they're ready to drink, they'll know where the water is.
Exactly.
Okay? And I think too much of our time is spent in an attempt to save people, when the pain and the uncomfortability that they're going to experience because of their lack of judgment could be the thing that ultimately saves them. Like our example from earlier today of the shelter closing at 5, person gets there at 7, and he gets put out. Because I've been in charge of the kitchen. I used to have a kitchen license too, so they would always put me around mealtime. And so kitchen closes at 7:30. Person comes in 8:30, say they're hungry. I have another staff member say, Mr. Williams, will you feed Joey? I said, no. Joey's been here long enough. He knows what time dinner is. So when I feed you, what's the lesson that's teaching you? I think not eating tonight will get you more aware of 7:30 tomorrow.
Agreed.
And you'll learn to be accountable and responsible, and there's some growth. It's always growth when I do something I don't want to do or don't like doing because it's the thing I need to do. That's where the growth comes in. And when we deal with our population, they're so used to having something to blame it on or somebody to blame it on. See, and I tell my friend that you met downstairs the same thing. I understand the system is effed up.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not going to argue that point. System is stacked against you. System is effed up. System is prejudice. The system is bias and all that. I understand all that. But each and every one of us, if we want to recover from whatever it is, homelessness, alcohol, drug addiction, gambling, mental health, we've got to run our best race.
At the end of the day.
When the whistle blows, we got to run with all our might, with all the effort we can put into it. That's the only way we're going to make a difference, or we can stay where we are and continue to suffer.